Morning. We are going to begin today's special meeting, April the 7th, 2025 at 9:30 a.m. As always, we'll begin each of our meetings with the mission statement. New Philadelphia City Schools will provide all students with the opportunity to achieve their highest potential to become educated, self-sufficient, and responsible citizens. We are committed to providing every student a diverse, quality education within a safe and secure environment through a dedicated, innovative, and highly qualified staff in partnership with parents and the community at large. Now will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May we have the roll call, please?
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mrs. Schrock? Here. Ms. Fontana?
Yes, here.
Mr. Ricklick?
Present.
Mr. McMath?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, item 2, approval of the agenda. Recommendation to approve the agenda of the special Board of Education meeting, additions or deletions to that agenda. Do I have a motion?
Is this where I move to put the substitute? No, sorry. So move.
This is just a agenda.
Gotcha.
Second.
Okay, any discussions? Okay, we have the roll call on that, please.
Mrs. Schrock?
Yes.
Mr. McMath?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes,
Ms. Fontana?
Yes.
Mr. Ricklick?
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you very much. Item 3, recommendation to provide temporary approval for Board Policy JEFB, release time for religious instruction. Do I have a motion, please? I'll move. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Discussion.
I would like to move to replace the agenda policy that's currently linked on the agenda with the substitute policy that was put in our folders and distributed today.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So move is the move.
Well, that was the move. I apologize. Do I have a second then?
Second.
Thank you. All right, discussion, please.
I just would like it to be noted that, there were a lot of things we talked about and concerns about what we would have in the policy. Some of the things that we talked about were a notice to all parents that the district shall not provide any paraprofessional supports or IEP accommodations for students who attend the RTRI program. Only adults who have provided verification of the required criminal record checks will have the ability to pick students up from the school building for the RTRI program. All students must be returned to the school building by the specified time after attending a program implemented under RTRI, and no student shall distribute RTRI snacks or materials to members of the school community. We ultimately decided, and Amy assured us that that would be implemented in policy or in procedure. So I just wanted everybody to be aware that those things would be included in procedure.
Thank you. Is there any other discussions, questions, or concerns?
Yeah, I have questions.
Go ahead, sir.
I have questions. So I'm just seeing the substitute policy. So I get I'm in support of the core curriculum portion of this. I'm in support of the transportation, including transportation of students with disabilities, of course. Explain to me the BCI, FBI records.
I could do that.
So my question, Amanda, is it seems to be different.
It is.
So what are we asking for on the substitute one?
The substitute one is one that will actually protect children. So,
Isn't that what our district policy does?
well, I think that we should change our district policy, because no, I don't believe it is tight enough to protect children.
Okay.
So, under the original one, say I live in Ohio for 5 years, and I'm able to prove that, and I apply for the position. So that means I would only have to have a BCI check. However, 7 years ago, I lived in another state and was convicted of a sex offense. You wouldn't know that unless you did an FBI check on me. So that's why.
Okay, and how often are we doing that? Like, is it following district policy where they do it when they come in or they begin volunteering and then every 5 years unless they're out of state?
No, that is not in the substitute policy. That's in the original policy.
So where does it say that it has, so what are you asking for in this policy?
In the substitute policy?
Yeah,
So the substitute policy, the sponsoring entities proposing to provide religious instruction during release time shall be required to provide the district with BCI and FBI records checks for any and all instructors and volunteers providing a release time course in religious instruction. Such record checks will be at no cost to the board, and any sponsoring entity proposing to provide religious instruction during the release time must provide updated documentation of such checks if and when their staffing changes. The sponsoring entity will provide verification on an annual basis that it has permitted or that it has not permitted any individual to serve as an instructor or volunteer who has been convicted or pleaded guilty to any offense that would preclude the individual from employment in an Ohio public school district. And the sponsoring entity will ensure that all individuals who serve as instructors or volunteers enroll in the Ohio REPAC system.
so how often are you requiring volunteers, whoever wants to volunteer for this?
It says annually.
It says annually report on an annual basis, verification on an annual basis. So what does that mean? That the entity has to provide the district on an annual basis that they've done these? Or does it mean they actually have to have new ones every year?
They have to provide us with verification that this has been done on an annual basis with all of their volunteers and staff. But then the part where it says how they will, that somebody has not been convicted or pleaded guilty to any offense, that would preclude. So they're going to prove to us annually that this has been done. Okay? Say they're with them for
entity.
2 years. Yeah.
Entity, okay.
If they're with them for 2 years, say I'm working with an agency for 2 years, but sometime in that 2 years, I do something, right? It's going to pop up in RATBAC because they're also going to be enrolled in RATBAC.
So every year, so how often do their volunteers have to have BCI and FBI checks?
We don't have to say that they have to do it yearly because they're going to be in RATBAC. Does that make sense?
It's going to require them to do it annually.
RATBAC is the system that will ping if they do something that's a violation.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So kind of like similarly, as a PTO volunteer, I have to sign a form and present it to the board, and the board has to approve me every year. This is a little different, but not really. The entity has to provide their verification to the district every year that everyone is still good under their check. So if you have an FBI check, I'm not sure how long, 5 years, it's good for 5 years. You don't have to get it every year. You have it, it's good for 5 years. If something happens in year 3, the RATBAC will get it.
And it'll let them know.
So how does this differ from our district policy for, that we require as a district?
Well, if somebody lived out of state before, like outside of this time frame, and we're not FBI checking them, they could have sex offense convictions on their record, and they could be working for our district.
So
So I would think the policy committee needs to get together and tighten up that policy.
If they quit, move out of state and come back, they have to do both.
If they, yeah, they would have to do new one, but I'm saying if that's never been done in years ago,
To hire, they have to do
All of
both.
our
oh, they have to do
employees
both.
They have to do both to hire,
Okay,
then they have to keep up with the BCI.
and they're doing
And
their
then-
RATBAC.
They have
Yes.
to keep up with the FBI. Every 5 years, employees do a
Yeah.
new FBI check.
And then they're in rat back, so they let us know. But if they leave and come back and move to another state and come back, they have to do
They have, well,
they have to do it again.
they have to do it again, yeah.
This is not different than,
Our volunteers are only required to get BCI checks every 5 years, and they are not in RATBAC. Our employees get both. Our volunteers only get
volunteers.
BCI checks every 5 years, and they are not in
so
RATBAC.
PTO doesn't have to do this?
No, but I would argue PTO, they're in our buildings with our staff, usually within some capacity of the district. And this is something that is taking place off-site. They're taking the kids. So this is just,
With parent permission,
so,
right?
correct, but still, I don't care how you cut the cake. People are gonna say they left you, they went here, and then they came back to you. I think this is just a way just to really protect kids.
I guess I understand that. I don't, and I hear, Amanda, you saying that you think we need to tighten up other areas, but those aren't tightened up. So we're asking in this policy more things than what we're asking in our other
So,
policies.
Are you saying that you're putting, the priority is to be consistent with policy and not the safety of children?
I'm saying we need to do both. I'm saying we need to have safety for our kids, but right now our district
Okay, well,
policy
you know what we
is,
do?
let me finish.
And we change our district policy.
Yeah,
That's how we do both.
I think that's something that we need to look at, but right now I kind of feel like we're discriminating a little bit here. We're picking and choosing what we want to be tighter on. Because with this policy, that's like everything else, I'm good with. I'm good with everything else.
Except for, you're good with everything except for the part that makes sure kids aren't getting sexually assalted by people. I'm just trying to clarify.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I'm not good, that it's not consistent with what we are already doing. If what we're already doing is not good enough for this policy, then that's a safety issue. Like, I'm not okay with that. But I'm not okay right now with singling out religious entities and making them do more than what we're making other entities do. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
If I may jump in on,
Yes.
go along with what Jen was saying. My wife volunteers down south, and she takes Mia down, and
That's your dog?
yeah, and she's not permitted to take the kids. Like if she wanted to take the kids out into the playground to have Mia do tricks for them, she's not allowed to do that without a staff member with her. So they will not allow her with just a BSI check to even be on the playground by herself with the kids, so I guess what, if I may, and Jen, you can correct me on this, what she's saying is with our volunteers in the building, we have staff members that are there along with, that have had the FBI exam, whereas these people, if they just had the BSI, there would not be a staff member with them that has the FBI. I hope that's kind of what you were saying.
It is, and if they were, if they were coming to our facility and had a room set up like any other special, then I could understand the discrimination argument, that we're just doing this for this group of volunteers. But it's the fact that these kids are going off-site and back, that I just think it's a
Number one,
common sense safety, yeah.
Parents are given permission. The student's parents or guardians submit a written request to the building principal that consents to participation in this policy. So the parents are providing for that to happen. And so, like, me personally, I think that we're restricting entities of religion more than we're willing to restrict other entities.
Is your concern the possibility of being sued? Is that
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, I think that, I think
And I would argue
I think
that
that's always possible, man.
first, I would, if what was on the table is that we were going to be getting sued. I would rather get sued for protecting kids than not protecting kids, because any good lawyer, a tort lawyer, is going to say, I don't care if this piece of paper says that the school isn't liable. If something happens to their child, and I don't care if you signed a waiver, if something happens to a child, I'm going to sue this body and everybody in between and let it fall out and everything fall how it may in the courts.
Yeah, and
You know?
this is also setting it up. So let's say, because we know of a few entities kind of gearing up and preparing. There are some that really aren't, there's HALE, there's an atheist organization. So even though they're not religious, under this, they would still qualify. They're going to have the FBI too. So we're not just discriminating against a certain religious group. It's any entity that would qualify under RTRI that you take our kids off of here has to be an FBI. That's, yeah, so because.
I don't have issues with them being
Yeah.
FBI. I just have issues that they have to do it more often than other people.
They don't have to do it.
Do it more often. It's not more often.
It's the same time schedule as ours.
So if I volunteer for this entity, how often do I have to have myself checked?
No, you get it when you start, okay, you get both. You're entered into that wrap back, and those checks are good for 5 years. Okay, but say you're 3 years in and you do something, it's going to alert in that system. So when the annual documentation showing like, no, everybody's good, it's going to ping, this person isn't good anymore.
So who's paying for the annual wrap back?
No,
Is there a cost?
no, it says in here, it's no cost to the district.
No, but who pays for it? Is there a cost to it for it to be done?
No, there's not.
None at all. So the entity doesn't have to pay for it, the volunteer doesn't have to pay for it, wrap back. It just automatically happens? Is that
You have to enroll in wrap back.
who enrolls? The entity?
The entity
The
enrolls.
individuals have to enroll themselves and link themselves to the entity.
And
It's
there's a-
kind of a process.
There's an initial cost to that?
They do it, I believe after they get their fingerprints done, then there's not an additional cost to wrap back.
But annually, they have to do that?
No,
Once they're enrolled.
you're in, you're in.
Okay, all right. So there's no extra steps?
No.
To a volunteer?
No.
Just the process itself of enrolling in wrap back.
Okay. So how's it different, other than what automatically happens with wrap back? How's it different than what we currently have?
We don't require our volunteers to do any FBI checks.
This is exactly.
But FBI check's good for 5 years?
Yes, correct me on this. This is exactly what we require of our employees. Exactly what they have, but since she's a volunteer, she only does the BSI. But it's not, and correct me if I'm wrong on this.
It's BCI.
BCI, I'm sorry.
Board member.
Too many letters. But correct me if I don't want the misunderstanding. We are not requiring that if, let's say you were decide to volunteer for this entity, that you have to have the 2 checks done and pay for it every year. It's just, it's done when you're first there. It's redone in 5 years. The only difference is that you're going to have the rat back, which I call the rat back, but it worked for me. It worked for me.
So that's the only difference is the automatic thing that happens.
There's a couple differences.
yeah, good.
So employees, let's start there, because there's 3 groups of people here, and they're all slightly different.
Okay.
For employees and coaches, when they're hired, they get FBI and BCI. They are also enrolled in wrap back. Every 5 years, they repeat the FBI only.
Okay.
They do not repeat the BCI after their initial hire.
Okay. But that's for employees.
That's employees.
Okay.
Current practice for volunteers, when they begin volunteering, they get a BCI check,
Okay.
which is the Ohio check. BCI is Ohio.
Yep.
Every 5 years, they have to repeat the BCI check,
Okay.
as long as they are continue to volunteer every year,
But no FBI.
but no FBI. This policy says initially they have to get FBI and BCI and enroll in RATBAC. And then I'm unclear about the time frame that they have to repeat those. I know FBI checks are good for 5 years.
So Amanda, I think I heard you say your intention is to tighten up the volunteer policy so that it kind of reflects this?
Yes. You mean MPs?
Yes. MP schools, volunteer policies.
I would
so
like
that it
to do
reflects
that.
this. And when are you thinking you want to do that?
As soon as possible.
So so you want it to, basically you want volunteers to go through the FBI check too,
Well,
and RATBAC.
especially given the events that have occurred within the last year.
I'm sorry, say that again, Allison.
Especially given the events that have occurred in the last year.
Okay.
Do you want me to be more specific?
No.
Okay. Well, you were looking at, that's why I was like,
Just process it.
okay.
Okay. So in good faith, you're saying that your intention is, the policy committee's intention is to pursue this for volunteers. So anybody that's going to volunteer in our district, so basically it's going to line up with this policy. Because that's my biggest struggle, is just the inconsistency.
I mean, we could get a meeting on the books right now, policy committee. I'm sure Denver loves that. No, he would absolutely be willing to do.
Don't use the word love, no.
different animals, but I mean, whatever, I mean, I support whatever the policy committee decides to do. I think they're two different animals.
They are. I understand what Jen's saying, and they are two different animals, but for the safety of students and the district, I think both need to do that.
And I'm gonna be upfront on it, you know, I would be, and Amanda will beat me up on this. We'll have to have a lot of discussion on it, because I would be a little concerned with if, let's say, Jen is just gonna volunteer at the Christmas party with her kids, you know, and that's also gonna, we're asking her to pay an extra $40, because it's like $22, you know, to do the BCI.
22 for the BCI and
Yeah.
a total of 68 for both of them.
So you see where I'm coming from on that? If she's just going to walk into her classroom and do the Christmas party, and that's all she's going to do, we're saying you got to pay $68. You see what I'm saying? We'll discuss it. I'm not saying I'm against, totally 100% against it. I'm just concerned that we're going to put that kind of a extra thing on, financial stress on our parents.
On people.
Yeah. Please, I'm sorry.
After listening to everyone, my opinion is, you know, if we're going to err on the side of safety, then I side safety. If you're with that child at all, then you need to have both checks, as far as I'm concerned. $40 or no $40. So you're telling me $40 is too much to protect our children? I'm going to disagree with that. I'm going to say, if we are going to be erring on the side of safety, all volunteers, all employees, everyone that's interacting with New Philadelphia City School students shall have a BCI, FBI background checked. No other clause. That's it. That they have to have them. We are going to protect our children, because even when you get that and you are clear, doesn't mean that child is safe. All you're doing is checking to make sure that in the past, there's been no convictions of anyone that has been involved with a child. So me, as one board member, I think volunteer, employee, anybody that has a chance to be alone with a student, and you can't tell me, being a volunteer, that you will never be alone with a student, that something doesn't happen in that classroom, that the teacher has to leave, and you're there with the students.
That is true, because sometimes when I've gone in as a RIP volunteer, I've been in
happens.
the corner of
It
the
happens.
classroom. Yep, it does.
Things just happen in a classroom. My wife was a teacher. Things always happen. And you are putting that teacher in a bad position by saying you have to be with that volunteer all the time. You have to look at the other side. You're looking at from your side as a volunteer. I'll never be alone. Look at the teacher side. that teacher has to guarantee you're never alone. You're putting the pressure on that teacher when she or he is responsible for 30 to 35, maybe 60 students. I think to protect the school district and protect those teachers, BCI, FBIs shall be required for all individuals interacting with our students. And I would like to see the policy committee to get that together and put it in line with what we are putting in line today.
That's why I wanted to have the discussion.
Thank you.
Let's say good wisdom.
So, Amy, Julie, how would that impact our volunteers in the, like, how do you see that impacting volunteers? Is there any negative, outside of them having to go through the step to do that, to be at a Christmas party?
Well, it's definitely going to be a cost for some of them, which may deter some from volunteering. I cannot say that, but I would imagine that some may do that, be deterred.
But outside of the cost?
Outside of a cost,
Okay.
you know, it's going to take a little more effort on our part to monitor that and do all those extra checks, but it's doable.
About how many ballparkers, about how many volunteers would we normally see in a year?
Oh, my goodness.
And I know that's a terrible question.
Well, we got our board agendas, just.
Yeah, I mean,
When we.
a lot.
So
Three digits.
athletic volunteers,
It would have to be everybody.
band volunteers?
Well, yeah.
Choir volunteers, yeah.
I would like to see a policy that reflects that.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I think you guys are very wise.
And if, yeah, I'll just. That's
We're all
the,
here, we can get, while we're here.
that's the consistency I guess I'm looking for. And yeah.
I see a teacher out there shaking her head, yes.
It's good.
Good.
And I know what the pressure is put upon her, like I said, when she has volunteers in there, if something goes wrong. And that if should be protected as much as we can to help you.
Any more discussion? Any more concerns or questions?
Could I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead. What the heck?
I see in the policy here that you've included all graded courses that have state-approved learning standards into core curriculum. Thank you. But I would love some clarity on what constitutes an absence. How many minutes out of a class constitutes an absence? For example, if they're pulled out of their recess time to attend this instruction, and they come back into their 30-minute music class 20 minutes in, is that absent or is that present?
That would be absent,
What's the number of minutes that,
because now we're missing
right?
time in that. Well, I don't want to say that would be absent, because I may have
be
misspoke.
administrative,
Amy would-
that'd be
Yeah, but that is missed instruction time.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just
so
want
Amy,
some
yeah, Amy.
Yeah, the intention is that they would not be missing any time.
Right, of course.
So I assume you're talking about in a situation if they come back late or,
Right. And I know that things happen and that could happen occasionally. I just wanted to know what constitutes, just how much time they could miss of a class and that would be okay with us.
What happens when a junior or senior comes back from lunch late?
I was just gonna say, would it fall under our tardiness policy?
Yeah, there's a tardiness policy in the high school.
So tardiness?
yeah, at the elementary, they don't do so much with tardy because it's not the students typically that are responsible for the time that they get to school. At the high school, it's a little bit different.
Do we have, in Philly, is it like 3 tardies and the students get a detention in elementary? Is that?
I don't believe they do that at all in elementary.
Okay.
No,
And I hope
Issue, not a
not.
student issue.
And that has always, I've had districts where I'm like, kid doesn't get himself to school. What do you mean? Yeah, so I know, yeah. thank
I'm
you
not
for
in
that,
school no
Amy.
more, so they don't have to worry about
Yeah.
an elementary kid coming late.
That clearly, as far as getting back late and how that might impact absences. I know as far as attendance, we have to mark the time students get back. So if they were later than they were to be back, I'm just gonna say 1 o'clock, and they got back at 1:05, I think we would need to note in their record that they got back at 1:05, and that would be 5 minutes of lost instructional time. But those are clearly something that we will need to work through and add to the procedures as well.
Right, and I guess more what I was asking was, is it our intention that none of these classes will be shortened to allow for this.
That is our intention.
Okay, that's what I.
There's nothing.
Yes, that is the intention.
Do you have any other
Thank you for
questions?
clarifying.
Any other questions,
Yeah.
concerns?
I do not. Thank
Well,
you.
good. Any other questions, concerns, ideas? I guess we would then,
Voting on this substitute.
we would be voting, now make sure it's clear, we're voting on the substitution, okay? We're voting on the substitution. Okay, go ahead, please.
Ms. Schrock,
Yes.
Ms. Fontana,
Yes.
Mr. Galantine,
Yes,
Mr. Ricklick,
Yes.
Mr. McMahon.
Yes.
Substitute policy is a motion carried.
thank you very much. Now do I go back to the
So I
original one?
think you have to go back to the original one.
That's what, I don't think I was done yet. Point of order.
Sure, yes.
I think you had to, when you second her motion to use the second one, we needed a vote to do that first. And then you
And then
need to
take the
go
old
back
one.
and make the motion that we just did to vote on that to be accepted.
Say that
Do
again?
that one again for us.
When we did the original recommendation to provide the approval of the board
Agenda.
agenda, no, of the record, number 3.
Yes.
You took a first from Denny and took a second from Mrs. Schrock. Then Mrs. Schrock made a motion to amend and use the second policy. Schrock firsted, Fontana seconded. We needed to vote that in.
Whether or not we could use that.
Yes.
Okay.
Once that was voted in, because we just discussed that. Now we
gotcha.
need to vote that. Now we have accepted that. Now we need to make a motion now to approve the amendment to number 3 as
Gotcha.
the motion was made, is what you need. So you need 2 votes to renew.
I need to move.
I already have.
She already did it. She needs to vote that
I
we.
got Gallant,
Second,
Schrock on first and second.
Okay.
now we need to
Just need
vote on
roll
that.
call.
All right,
We're voting on accepting the number 2 substitute policy. We already have the motion, first and second. Now we need to do a roll call.
Wait a minute, so we vote, let me get this clear. So we voted to substitute it,
That's the vote we just took.
okay, and
To substitute.
right.
now we're voting
To
whether or not we
accept it.
approve it.
Approve it, yes.
Accept, approve, okay.
Voting to approve the substitute policy right now.
all right,
Okay, thank you.
We need to make a motion for that?
Yes, they do.
I thought you had the motion.
You had the motion to put the second in.
I have a motion to replace. That was
Okay.
Schrock. Now I need a motion to accept the recommendation to provide a temporary approval.
Yes, but you can't.
But I
use
have
it-
a motion on
You can't
it.
use it because that was under the first one.
Yes.
That was the first policy. Now we have the second policy on the
A
floor.
motion and a second, and then a vote to actually adopt it under as a temporary.
As a, right, second.
do I have a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we are now going to vote to accept it.
Second policy that's on.
Second policy.
Amended policy.
Amended policy, substitution. Everybody clear on that? So you know what you're
Yes.
voting on?
So to approve this substitute.
I got it.
Yes.
Okay.
You need an 8. This one.
Okay,
Mrs. Schrock,
Yes.
Ms. Fontana, Mr. Galantine,
yes.
Mr. Ricklick,
Yes.
Mr. McMath.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Please, we have a point being made?
So just one point about this notice, that it was a temporary approval. That
Yeah.
is because it is required to be in place according to law by Wednesday. So this puts it into place. However, our board policy procedure says it has to have 2 votes. So it will have another vote at next Monday's board meeting for the final approval. So it is in place as a temporary, and then it will be in place as a final as of next Monday.
So, and that keeps us in mind with,
Yes,
Yes, Mr. Ricklick.
Can I ask a question?
yes, sir.
Do we have the power on the board policy to suspend rules in emergency? That we could suspend the rules and vote that, which we don't have no reason to do that in this instance. I just want to make sure it's the same as Robert Rules says.
Yes.
Okay. And we need 3/5 to approve that, so, okay. We can let it go because we already have it here and just do it the next meeting, so,
Which is Monday.
Monday.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Is everybody okay with this now? Any questions?
Just voted on it.
I know, but I'm
It's too late now.
It's done.
saying,
Too late, Denny.
I'm just making sure.
I get beat up.
Nothing's
What if I said no?
Nothing's Vietnamese, right, Denver?
Everybody Denver, sorry.
My phone is now, everything I get on my phone is in Vietnamese.
Oh, you can move over there anytime you want.
I guess I will.
I think you can change that.
Yes, I think you can.
Someone can change the settings. Xavier. I apologize. I digress.
Kids down.
All right, we're going to go on to item 4 in the agenda. The recommendation to approve the resolution in support of the fair funding plan.
So moved.
I have a motion. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Just a second. Questions and/or discussion?
I just,
Yeah, please.
I know we all have tirelessly been working some around the clock in support of public education and public schools being funded. And I just want to say I appreciate everybody's work on this at all levels. It's not easy. I think, people see us at our meetings, and they see here, but they don't often see what is happening behind the scenes all the time and the work, as board members and administration that we're putting in, and we're talking to our legislators and we're meeting with our legislators and we're going to outside meetings and we're going to conventions to continually advocate for public education. So I just want to thank everybody here for the work that everybody is doing to help
you.
support our kids and our teachers and our schools.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns, or discussion? Okay, could we have a roll on that, please?
Mrs. Schrock?
Yes.
Ms. Fontana?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. Ricklick?
Yes.
Mr. McMath? Yes. Motion carries.
Very fast.
Okay, before we go on to the adjournment, I just want to kind of hook on to what Ms. Fontana had said, especially on the board policy JF release time. I want to, yeah, it's been a morning. I want to thank Board Member Fontana and Superintendent Wentworth. It's a rough morning.
Monday.
It's a Monday. For their hard work on that. They have put in tremendous amount of hours working on trying to hammer out a fair policy. I think they've done an excellent job on that. I want to let everyone know that the two of them really put in and I'm not joking, the hours of time on that one policy. So I do want to thank them both for what I think is a fair policy that's going to be good for our district, and I apologize for that. My brain is dead today. All right, we will go to,
So moved.
okay. That was adjournment for those out in the public. And go ahead, I guess.
Second.
I did.
Kelly.
Second.
Mr. McMath? Yep. Mr. Ricklick?
Yes.
Mr. Galantine?
Yes.
Mr. Schrock? Mrs. Schrock?
Yes.
Ms. Fontana?
She said it's Monday. She didn't say Monday evening.
Now you got her laughing. It's just.
Ms. Fontana? Yes. Motion carried. We're adjourned.
All right.
We got Julie going.